Hi, in the last video, I showed you how to use the FED3 library to flash this fixed ratio 1 program onto the FED3. And you probably noticed that there were several programs in the FED3 examples. And you may not want to plug it in by the USB cable and flash it every time you want to change the program. So a solution for this is to put a menuing system onto the FED3 so you can kind of select through multiple programs at startup by using the nose pokes. So I'm going to show you how to do that. If you go into beta programs, I have two examples of this, the menu example and menu example 2. And I have them in beta right now, but they work well, and you can use them to really put any programs you want onto FED3 or into the menuing system of FED3. So let's use the menu example. So if I open that, we'll see that this example has 4 programs, and there isn't really a limit. It'll get a little cumbersome if you have like 20 programs you're going to scroll through with the FED3, but certainly, typically in my lab, we run things with 4 or 5 programs, and we'll try to kind of queue them up. So in this example, we have a free feeding, an FR1, progressive ratio, and a timed feeding, or timed free feeding. You can kind of ignore the top of this. The business end of all of the FED3 programs occurs in the void loop. What we have here is, I'm going to open this. We have here is kind of blocks. We have a mode 1 free feeding, and I have an if statement that if the FED3 mode equals 0, 0 being the first number, then we'll be in mode 1. And mode 1 just works that it's a free feeding. Nothing really happens. We update the display and we feed. We then get to fixed ratio 1 in mode 2. And if the Fed mode equals 1, then this code you might recognize. This is the FED3, the FR1 code. If the left poke is pushed, then we log the left poke, we do a condition stimulus, and we feed. If the right poke is pushed, we just log it. The third one is progressive ratio. It's a little more complicated. You can kind of look through it, but we have a progressively increasing or incrementing pokes required that every time you get a pellet, it goes up a little bit. Or goes up a lot, depending on this exponential function. And finally, a timed feeding, where we're going to get the hour, the current hour from the real-time clock and sort of ask whether we're in the right time for feeding. This would be used if you were wanting to, say, feed animals or have fed active only from like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., that kind of a thing. And then we say if a mode greater than 4 is selected, don't display any program. So I'm going to flash this one. Let me put this back. So I'm going to flash this menu example. If you recall, we plug the USB port onto the internal USB. I'm going to double click the reset button. That puts it in the breathing mode, which is the bootloader. The red light is breathing. I'm on Feather M0. The port is COM50, and I'll flash that. This will compile. And when it's done compiling, you'll see uploading. And when it's done, you should see done uploading, and then again, verify successful down here. So I'm going to unplug this. So now FED3, if I just reset this, it's going to boot up in a mode where I can select between, say I select mode 2. This is that FR1, same one that I had before. And now the little mouse will run across and it boots up and we're in an FR1 session. So 1 poke over here, and then we'll be dispensing up here. So that's basically it. If you want to experiment with this, you can change what's in each of these. So just to kind of make it a little bit more clear, if I wanted, say I was using this probabilistic reversal task, and I thought that what was in this void loop was great. We have all of this. You could actually grab all of this, say I'm going to make that mode 1, and I can delete what's inside of here. Say if Fed mode equals 0, I'm just going to run the probabilistic reversal task. And now when you boot up, you're going to set Fed mode equals to 0 with the nose pokes, and then it'll just kind of it'll go through this task, and it'll never actually see the Fed mode 2, Fed mode 3 until you reset the device. So this is how we run a lot of our experiments. We typically put usually four programs on the Fed, and then we'll kind of run a training program that starts with free feeding and then FR1 and then a progressive ratio. And instead of having to flash the Fed each time, we just get to select it with the nose pokes. So hopefully that's informative. And that's how you use the menuing system on FED3.